Welcome to another episode of the Rant series. Now, before we get off into everything, I know I'm going to do it just like last time. There's a couple things I want to cover real quick, but I'm going to do it pretty fast this time. So first and foremost, yes, Siege the Show is still a thing. The thing is, though, it's probably going to happen this Sunday. We've just had a lot of things going on in the background that have prevented us from doing so. So hopefully we'll be able to keep up with that. Should be coming back. So keep your eyes peeled. Now, the second thing is I just generally wanted to talk about this series overall. Is I actually had a lot of fun making that Jackal video. And to be frank, it's something that's pretty much, it's pretty quick for me to do. And what that means is that I can keep up with it on a regular basis, pretty consistently. There are very few things that would prevent me from doing so. So I'm hoping to make this either a like every other day kind of thing, or maybe just a couple times a week or something like that. I do want to keep up with this, and it would probably be at least more than one video a week, maybe 2 to 3 videos a week of this series. So moving past that is that, as you can see in our lovely sidebar, is that today's topic is Mira. Now, Mira is an operator that I love. Seriously, I'm probably pretty biased when it comes to Mira. Mira has a weapon that I literally begged devs for during playtests for them to introduce it into the game, and that is the Vector. The Vector 45 ACP, which I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with at this point, and I would assume most of you are fans of. It's a pretty great gun. It's exceptional. It's super fun. And if you don't know what Mira is, if you're maybe newer to the game, or you're just kind of watching this series, I don't know, in the future, and you're just coming to the game, Mira is a 1-speed, 3-armor player, which doesn't make sense. She looks like she would be a faster operator, just like she has like some shoulder pads. That's about it. I guess like some creative looking chest armor, but other than that, but whatever. That's another subject in its own. But essentially, Mira is your anchor player. She plays on site. She has a high rate of fire gun, and her ability is to place these one-way windows that are bulletproof in reinforcements or any wall. Essentially, any wall that is destructible in some manner can have a Mira placed on top of it. Pretty neat ability. You get 2 of them. Super fun to use. Kind of limitless in its ways that it can be used. It's definitely something that you are rewarded for the more you think about it. You know, you get your effort put in. Like it gets paid back. If you put a Mira in a stupid spot, you're not really going to get anything out of it. But if you put a Mira in a high traffic area that your team can gain information from, you're going to get rewarded for it. So it's one of those intelligently played operators. If you use it properly, your team gets great rewards. And it's those kinds of operators that I absolutely love. Seriously, great operator. Absolutely love playing her. Great thing overall. So I guess we'll go now into our general overview. I guess that was the general overview. But I guess we can kind of talk about her loadouts now. So let's send it over to this screen, and let's go ahead and take a more in-depth look at her weapons here. Now, first and foremost, we have the Vector, my favorite gun in the game, and that is the super high rate of fire. It's kind of like the poppy version of the SMG-11. It's, well, actually, I don't know. It does have more ammo, and its fire rate's similar, but it does significantly less damage. Compared to the SMG-11 that does 32 damage a bullet, this gun only does 23. Now, that is somewhat of a concern, especially when you start talking about the drop-off distance, where this gun occasionally feels like it just isn't doing anything. A lot of situations when you're using this gun, you can shoot someone about 5 times in the chest, and they're not down yet, and you start to wonder, what the hell happened? Is it just that it's truly doing that little damage? Or is it that there's something going on with hit reg? Or are the shots just not registering, or on your screen you're hitting and maybe on their screen they're behind a wall, or they only got hit 3 times? It's a gun that, while I love playing and it seems to do exceptionally well when it works, I've had multiple instances where I will sit with the gun and just spray down an opponent with nearly my entire magazine. And this is in scrims. This is in our practice scrims that we're doing. And I just laid into someone's side with the gun, and they're still up. And I've had a couple teammates that were watching me playing, because it was in like a 1v2 or something, where I just shot someone in the side of the body the entire time, and just nothing. I had to pull out my sidearm to actually down and then get the kill. and it was really weird. So there does seem to be some amount of inconsistency with the gun, and I don't know if that's just because maybe penetration damage is so low, or if the drop-off distance is just truly severe, or what. But it does seem to have a little bit of finickiness to it. It does seem to act up on occasion. But into the loadout, what I'm using on it primarily, if it loads, there we go. I'm using the hollow. I love the hollow. I definitely don't like the reflex sight now that it's gotten bigger. Red dot's pretty nice, but I like the hollow. Big fan of it. I like the little teeny tiny dot. Now, for the barrels, I love using the flash hider. I use this gun nearly the exact same way as I would use the SMG-11. Very similar playstyle. And then the last but not least is the vertical grip. Now, you can run the laser sight. This gun does have an exceptionally good hip fire with the laser sight. I just never do it. And with Mira, since she's an anchor player, I primarily hold angles. And if I'm just going to hold an angle, I don't really want someone to have a laser sight. Like, seeing my laser sight, I guess I should say. I don't want to really give them that advantage, let them know that I'm looking right there. It's rare that I'm running along with Mira, kind of a run and gun style, where I might not have the time to ADS. More often than not, I'm already looking down my scope and holding a corner. So that's that. Now, again, just like Jackal, we do have the IDA-12L, the long barrel version of the shotgun. As previously mentioned, 47 damage, 8 rounds in the magazine tube, and it is the second highest damage pump shotgun in the game. Pretty good for PvP, but again, it's a CQC weapon, and if you're going to run a CQC map, sure, whatever, go for it. But again, with CQC, when you have a gun that is so high rate of fire, like the Vector, that gun's just as good at CQC, and it allows you to effectively fight at longer distances, assuming that your aim is good enough to get headshots. So, while it is a good shotgun, I do enjoy using it, and it sounds fantastic when you're shooting it. I just can't, I can't in good faith, like, recommend that you would pick it consistently over the Vector, when it is only effective at a certain range, whereas the Vector has a much more flexible range to be effective in. Now, moving on into the sidearms, once again, we have the USP-40 and the IDA-12S. Now, the difference between the two is very similar to the difference between your Jackal picks, where with Jackal we were talking about, well, if you're going to be opening up walls, by all means, take the rifle, or the Vector in this case, and then grab the IDA-12S shotgun, so that you're not using your C4 to open walls, or you're not using your, with Jackal, it was like the breaching charges. Allows you to be a little bit more flexible overall, and especially if you're already picking the Vector, you don't really need a pistol too much. In most cases, you're already going to be playing in an effective range for this, but the reason why I would advise that you go over the USP-40, as much fun as it is to use, and it's again a great pistol, 43 damage, 12 rounds, very low recoil, it's a great pistol overall. But that being said, the IDA-12S just allows, again, more flexibility. Remember, we're going to keep coming back to that. We're going to keep coming back to that word of flexibility. And when an operator, when you allow yourself to have a little more flexibility, it means you're going to be able to accomplish more things in a round. If someone gets taken out, or if someone else doesn't necessarily have a shotgun, or maybe they don't have impact nades, you can be that player and you can have the shotgun, and again, you're more flexible. It allows your team overall to accomplish more consistently. So I love taking the shotgun. I love to make little peek holes on the floor, like to shoot open footholes at the bottom of walls so I see when someone's coming in. And I like to also, and this is a favorite Mira trick of mine, and actually I might actually go in and, hold on, let me move the cat. He's upset. Okay, go on your way. He has this awful trend of jumping up and then laying on either my my mixer or biting the crap out of my mouse cable. So, moving on, the shotgun allows you to perform a lot of different Mira tricks, which I actually really enjoy. And the biggest one, my favorite one overall, is placing a Mira at the crouch level, the lower level that you can place the Mira, and then shooting out the wall above it. By doing this, it actually allows you to have a vault hole and allows you to be able to still cross over between rooms while providing someone playing inside or on the other side of the wall with a bit of safety and the fact that they can watch that hallway, that room, or whatever. I've used this extensively since Mira's come out, especially on a map like Cafe and Bar, and going into the freezer room and then placing one of those walls looking at the white stairwell. It's really great. It allows the team to still rotate out of the freezer and getting into the A-bomb site. And I don't know, I like it. I think it's a really neat trick. I would expect to see some people using it more. It's used on Clubhouse too when you're defending Bar and you're looking at the kennels door, and you can just, again, place the Mira at the crouch level, shoot out the wall above it, you can vault over it, and your smoke player can sit in the dining room where the tables are and just whip smokes over by looking through the Mira while remaining 100% safe. It's really great. I think the shotgun really allows you to just do more overall. It just allows you to do more. So that's really why I recommend that. Sorry, I know I kind of went off at a tangent there and wasted a fair amount of time, but again, that shotgun is great. It allows you to do those kinds of things. It allows you to open up walls for your teammates. It allows you to open up rotate holes. So it's absolutely a great pick, and definitely would recommend it over the USP. Now, last but not least, we have the Nitro Cell, and we have the deployable shield. Now, this, to a certain extent, is going to kind of come down to your preference, because the shield, as clunky as it may be, can actually be used to defend a Mira window at crouch height. If you place a Mira window at crouch height, put the shield behind you, and you're kind of sandwiched in between, you can, for the most part, not worry too much about someone shooting you from behind, especially if it's like a doorway and you're going to stay crouched and you're just going to watch the Mira window in a kind of like a high traffic area where you might be concerned about getting shot from the back. At the very least, it'll save you for a little bit longer. It will protect the Mira window from being shot out from a farther distance away, so that way you don't have to be concerned about that as much if it doesn't have cover otherwise. So it can be effective. It absolutely can be effective. But personally, I don't know. I've always liked running Nitro Cells. I like being able to kind of shut down the vertical play that a lot of attacking teams like to run. So I would definitely, I don't know. I wouldn't say suggest the Nitro Cell, but if that's what your play style is, if you like to try and contest the above area, I definitely would not say, definitely don't use the Nitro Cell to open up holes in the wall. There's no need for it, especially if you get the shotgun. But yeah, I don't know. If you like to contest the vertical gameplay of the opponents, maybe if you have a Valkyrie or you have some form of information above you and you're playing a bomb site where the floor is destructible, then the Nitro Cell is definitely a worthwhile pickup. Even more so if there's no real situation where you would use the deployable shield to defend the Mira window, as was suggested earlier. But moving on from that is kind of just going to talk about how she's used in ranked, how she's used in competitive, and last but not least is, does anything need to be changed about her? Is she too strong? Is she too weak? Kind of going to make everything concise at the end there. So let's go ahead and first and foremost kind of cover how she's being used in ranked. And again, I need to preface this with saying that I don't really have a lot of experience at lower levels of ranked. In the silver, the gold, I just genuinely, I'm not trying to say this to like just stroke my ego, is I genuinely don't know how those elos are played. So when I'm saying how I see an operator being played in ranked, that's me seeing that operator being played in high silver, high platinum and diamond. So at the highest elos, and then how they're being used in scrims, how they're being used in competitive gameplay, like in the ESL Go 4 Cups and in the qualifiers for Pro League. But again, first and foremost in ranked, Mira is nearly always picked with the Vector. I'll just switch back over, Mira is nearly always picked with this loadout. Always grabbing the Vector, the shotgun, and then the C4. I see that pretty much every single time without fail is that build, that loadout. It never changes. It really doesn't. And the main difference between ranked and competitive is that in ranked, I'm seeing a lot of Miras, for the most part, provide Miras only for themselves and not for their teammates. And that can kind of be a hit or miss thing. To a certain extent, it might be a good thing because, your Mira placement can kind of also screw over your team as well if you're not putting it in a good enough location. If the location that you've put the Mira in can jeopardize your team's placement, then it's not that great of a thing. So communication is key. If you see a Mira on your team, do try to communicate with them. If they're not communicating with you, do try to actually talk with them. And that way you can be somewhat more sure that they're not going to place a Mira window directly behind you, essentially giving the enemy team a Mira window to shoot you in the back. So in ranked, Miras aren't nearly as much of a threat as they would be in competitive, where you have more coordination. Mira, again, as we talked about earlier, like nearly at the start of the video, is that Mira is an operator that thrives on communication and coordination. She thrives on it. And the more of that you have, the more coordinated you are as a team and the more setup that you have, the better Mira becomes. Because when everybody is aware of where the Mira placements are, and when you hear one pop, or if you know that the enemies are pushing some way and you can have someone rotate over to cover the Mira window, she is exceptional. But in ranked, you don't really get that too much. A lot of people either A, don't communicate, or B, are just kind of fucking around for the most part. They're messing around, they're not taking it too seriously, or they're just jumping around everywhere and not really always covering even the own windows that they place. So those are two very key differences. And I just haven't had a lot of experience with Mira in ranked yet, so that's why that's kind of concise. Now, where I've seen Mira played extensively is in scrims and in the qualifiers and in the ESL Go 4 Cups. She is really quite good in those. Seeing these teams, and I know that I kind of took that like ranked, talking about her in ranked, to talk about competitive too, and I'm going to kind of repeat a little bit of the stuff there, is that in a good team that's coordinated and has a plan set up, Miras are immensely helpful. They make bandit tricking a thing again, and it's really quite powerful. They make, in a certain sense, and you might not agree with me with this, and that's totally okay. Again, it's just my opinion on stuff. Is that if, as let's say, a Valkyrie player, if as a Valkyrie player, most of your cameras were right outside of high traffic areas about to enter into the bomb site, Mira can provide an alternative to that. Especially since we've seen a rise overall in the play of IQ. IQ has been played a lot more consistently on a lot of teams, which makes Valkyrie, as we all know, nearly useless. And I say nearly useless because, hey, sometimes they might not bring an IQ. But since most teams are grabbing an IQ, from what I'm seeing, those Valkyrie cameras are just popping. They're going by very fast. You're losing your Valkyrie cameras within the first 30 seconds of the round. And it means that now you don't have any information. Now you've picked an operator who just has a C4 and an average SMG. And if you wanted an operator that has an average, or I guess above average SMG and a C4, and you also want information on the area immediately around the bomb site, and that's really all you care about, and I'm not talking about outside cameras, but just in the immediate area, Mira accomplishes that, provided that you're using her for that element and you're not using it to defend from inside of the bomb site. If you're using Mira to hold an area, if you're using her on reinforced walls that are facing hallways that surround the bomb site, Mira accomplishes that task of gaining information on what the enemy team is doing. Just so long as you protect them with either a bandit, so that way Habana cannot blow up the window with her charges, or a thermite, or I guess a twitch as well. But essentially, as long as you're actually using the windows to gain information, she can kind of fill that role. Obviously, it's not a perfect fit, but she can accomplish the goal of gathering information. Alternatively, some teams are running Pulse, and if you have a Mira and a Pulse, if that's what you're kind of going for, that also kind of fits that role. But if you're just picking one, Mira can accomplish it. It's not perfect by any means, but you're not completely getting your eyes blinded when you're picking Mira, and not a Valkyrie. You still have information. It's not as good. It's not as clear. But you do still have the information. If you're going against a team that absolutely runs IQ, maybe picking Valkyrie might not be that important. Maybe you can just run a Mira instead and go for a sight hold, kind of the castle defense. And it's effective. I've seen it being used pretty well. I've used it myself. I like it. I'm a fan of it. I think that it is an alternative. It's not the only alternative, but I think it is an option. It's definitely something to consider. So that's really where I'm seeing a unique aspect of Mira kind of pop up, where she's kind of rising to prominence purely because another operator is being directly countered because IQ became stronger. She can bring nades now, but that doesn't make IQ, super picked. It's just that it makes her an alternative option. So if a team is taking that alternative option, grabbing the IQ, it means the Valkyrie's falling in popularity. It means that Pulse is falling in popularity. And you got to look for more passive types of gathering information. And Mira fits the bill perfectly. So moving off of that, I don't want to make this video another 30-minute video. But yeah, so that's kind of my general, consensus of how I've seen her used in competitive. Now moving on to the last and final subject is, does anything need to change about Mira? Is she okay? Is she average? Or is she just wildly OP and needs a nerf? And honestly, Mira is one of those operators where she's strong if used properly, but weak, very weak if used improperly. And that's really the operators that I love. It's like the Castle. Everyone talks about how Castle is so terrible. Castle is bad. Castle needs a buff. He needs another doorway, this, that, and the other. But in reality, you see Castle run a lot in Pro League, in competition, in ESL. You see Castle used all the time because when utilized properly, Castle is extremely effective, and especially on that 3-minute timer where he can delay the enemy team significantly, Castle is a powerful force, as is Mira. And while it's an operator that you get back what you put in, and it's an operator that lives and dies literally by that mantra. If you use them properly, if your team is utilizing them and you've put a lot of thought into how you're setting up your Miras, you're gonna reap the benefits. But if you place them in a poor manner, if you don't protect them and prevent them from being blown by like a twitch or from someone setting up an angle from the ceiling, then you're gonna be punished. And that makes Mira an operator that's very middle of the road. She's a good operator. She has the potential to be great when used by the best players, or when used by a player who knows how to play Mira. It's a great operator. But if you're someone who's new to Mira, or you just in general don't know how to play it, then you're not really going to get all the benefits out of it. It's going to be very average. It's going to be maybe subpar even. Or it might even cost you the round if you put a Mira in a terrible location that is instantly popped and now allows the attackers to just throw a Blackbeard in the window and clear out the site. And it's that kind of gameplay that I absolutely love. Seriously, that is the ideal operator to me. There should never be operators where they're just always good. Blackbeard, Season 2, Season 3. It didn't matter what strat you ran, you run a Blackbeard, because he's always good. You can be a bad player, you pick Blackbeard, you're a good player. Like, you don't want those kinds of operators. You want an operator where you are rewarded for your effort put in and for your intelligent and smart gameplay. So, hopefully we see more operators like Mira. I would love to see more operators that reward intelligent play over just picking the operator and having them just be inherently strong. But yeah, I hope you guys feel the same way. And now wrapping up the video, thanks again for watching this, guys. Again, if you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, hit the little bell button, the notification thing, so that way you know when the next one pops up. And if you disliked the video, if I did something exceptionally annoying or dumb or anything, or again, I guess you just fucking hate me for some reason, go ahead and leave a dislike, I guess. But again, if you guys do have any criticisms or critiques or anything like that, please do leave a comment. Let me know what you think down below. I will try to comment to them. I do try and once a night go through on my phone and reply to everything that I see. But again, guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope I'll see you in the future.